Hi everyone, I forgot to put my microphone on so you can probably hear me. Hopefully hear me enough that I don't need the microphone. All the planning that I do, and then I forgot my microphone, so I'll just have to speak loudly so that you can all hear me. See, tonight now I have a bit of a backdrop, so I'm just going to kind of chitter away while people drop on, if anyone drops on. Don't know whether anybody will, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to talk anyway. So for those of you that had the brief, hi Alison, so the brief live I did earlier, I have combed my hair since then and put some lippy on, so I don't quite look as bedraggled as I did earlier. I'm still battling the migraine, but keeping it at bay at the minute. Oh, nearly missed me. Well, you didn't. I'm really pleased that you're here. So tonight's actually every single one of these episodes has been important. Hi, Rachel. Has it been important to me because this is about me sharing my journey from my rock bottom, from bankruptcy to where I am now. So there's a couple of things there. It's quite an emotional journey. I've learned loads in sharing this with you guys, relearned loads, and I've learned loads of new stuff, which is really good. I'm quite excited because we're literally 4 weeks away from being in our new home. So I'll be either filming episode 11 or episode 12 in the new house. I might even do a tour of the house with you. I don't know whether I'll be filming it in my studio or whether I'll do it in the kitchen diner. I don't know yet, but we'll decide that. Hi, Ange. Nice to see you dropping on. So as you can see, I'm prepared with flip chart tonight. This is an important night. So the title for this week, this is week 7 of 12. And for those of you that don't know me, that may be new, that may drop on, I am Mandy. And it doesn't matter if you nearly forgot, you're here. I am Mandy, and I'm an artist, a coach, and an author. And this episode is one of 12 in the countdown to the launch of my new website, which contains my signature program, the Glowing Aura Mindset Makeover, and the launch of my book, which may happen a bit sooner because I'm just working out with Amazon at the minute where I can get that launched. So it's been quite an intense countdown for me of half-hour sessions every week for 12 weeks. The content has just kept flowing. It's been very easy for me to share this with you because it's what's really happened to me over the last 10 years. So we've hit a point now where, in summary, I've already started to share some stuff with you. So initially I started and introduced you to the importance of wherever you are, whether it's rock bottom, you look gorgeous tonight, sis. Okay, I'll give you the tenner later. Wherever you're rock bottom, even if you're not at rock bottom, wherever your starting point is, there is a process to go through in moving you from where that is to where you really want to be in your heart, in all the areas of life that you want to be in. And I talked about forgiveness and gratitude and the importance of that as a starting point, because I can't wait for your book. Thank you, Deborah. I can't wait to get it out there, honestly. So yeah, letting go is a starting point for us to be all that we can be. And there is a lot bandied about mindset, but how you think, so important. I covered that in week 2. I've also sort of covered what you have, what you need, how to make the best of it, how to live small, how to live on a budget, and accepting that things take time. So these have all been the topics that I've covered in the last few weeks leading up to this, because we're into really sort of meaty change stuff now in this sort of next 5-6 weeks. Yeah. So today is the start of that. And I wanted to start tonight by talking about goal setting and planning. And this is literally, planning and goal setting, in my eyes, the most important thing that you can do in your life, no matter where you are. And it can be overwhelming for some people. It can be abnormal, something that people don't do well or don't know where to start. There are loads of models thrown about. You should do this, you should do that, follow this, follow that. Do you know what? You've just got to find what works for you. And the reason I wanted to throw this one in now at week 7, and we're going to talk about planning for the long game a bit later. I think it's about episode 10. But today, really, what I want to talk about is planning for the next 6 months. It is really, really important. This is where I started. So I'm at my rock bottom, and I've worked on my mindset and forgiveness and gratitude, and I've learned how to live small, and I've pulled the costs in really tight so that I can start to think big. Okay, but let me tell you this. For the first few months that I was in that state where I considered myself to be quite low, at a low point, I had to heal a little bit first and had to really get my thoughts working in a positive way before I could really start planning. I sat down, and this is in my book, I sat down to do some planning. Now, I've been planning in some detail for 20 odd years as a senior manager with multi-million-pound businesses, so I knew how to plan. Boy, did I know how to plan. But when it's personal and when you need to make change happen, it can be uncomfortable and difficult. And I sat down with a blank piece of paper and sat down, and 2 hours later I still had a blank piece of paper, because it isn't easy to plan. If it was easy, everybody would just do it every day, wouldn't they? And it'd be dead, just normal. So what I learned in those first few months is that you can overwhelm yourself in thinking that you've got to do everything and you've got to do it well, yeah? But what I want to do tonight is say to you, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do what Mrs. Smith down the road is doing. You don't have to do what half of Facebook is doing. You don't have to do what everybody else is telling you to do. You find your way. So 10 years ago or thereabouts, when I was sort of doing a lot of work on self-development and discovering new things, I discovered a book by a lady called Florence Scovel-Shinn, and it was part of a course that I was doing. And it was called The Game of Life and How to Play It. It was written in 1928, and she was very forward-thinking. I think I've mentioned her in previous weeks. Very forward-thinking artist and illustrator and philosopher. And she talks in a book about life being a perfect square. And I know I've mentioned that in previous weeks. So that's what's behind me right now, because I wanted to give you a visual and talk about this perfect square that I've mentioned before, because this is where I started planning. And when you are looking at a very basic plan and starting off from scratch and looking at the next 6 months, this is a really good place to start. But the other thing I'm going to tell you is that, oh, it froze. What did you miss? Somebody tell me what you missed. Really sorry. So what I was talking about then is that the perfect square, which I discovered about 10 years ago, and this is a very basic planning tool that works really, really, really well. Is everybody back? Thumbs up. Yeah, everybody's back. Sorry about the freeze there. So I'm going to give, the reason I brought a visual along tonight is I really want to talk about this as a great place to start when you're thinking about planning. Okay, so Florence Scovel-Shinn was the author that wrote the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And this is where she talks about the perfect square. This is how I discovered planning once again, basic planning. All right, so behind me, I have drawn the perfect square. This is a model that I use right throughout my Glowing Aura Mindset Makeover program. I use it because it works with everything else really, really well. It brings things back to the very basics of the 4 most important things in your life, and that's why it's the perfect square. So there are 4 main things. I've mentioned these before: love, wealth, health, and self-expression. And these make the 4 sides of the perfect square. And what I discovered 10 years ago is that what I wanted was to be happy, because I'd lost all my money, I'd lost everything. It didn't matter. What I'd discovered is that happiness was the most important thing. And that every goal that I was going to set had to lead back to happiness. So you'll see that I've drawn in the middle, happy. So every goal I set in each area had to lead back here if it was going to be a really good quality goal. Are you all still with me? Give me some thumbs up. I'm concerned now that this is freezing and you're going to miss some of the content. So just give me a thumbs up to let me know that you can still hear me. Right, I don't know if I'm getting anybody or not. I'll just keep speaking and hope for the best. So the perfect square. I'm going to talk about this. Is so important. So if it's freezing, we've got thumbs ups. Okay, so goals. The first thing that we do that we make a mistake with sometimes when we're setting goals is we feel that we have to. Thank you, Debbie. We feel that we have to make them in every single area, and we have to have lots of goals if we're going to keep up with the Joneses and we're going to change our life. And it's just not true. Okay, so if you start with the perfect square and you look at one goal in each area, you're going to have a really good, robust plan on your hands that will take you forward. And I want to just work on this a bit. Okay, so it's really, really important. If you have too many goals, ladies and gents, it can lead to stress, it can lead to anxiety, and it can lead to overwhelm, because you're setting yourself up to potentially fail if you're giving yourself too many goals in life, whether that's business or whether that's life. Keep it simple. I like to keep it really simple. I like to work on just a few months at a time. Even though I've got a long-term, really big goal, I still like to keep it very simple. So it's important when you're setting goals that you look at three things. First of all, your feel goals, then your strategic goals, and then the ecology of the goals that you set. So I'm going to explore all of those with you. I don't want to confuse anybody, because I know goal setting can be quite confusing. So if you look at these four areas, if you were to go and have a look at your life and your main feel goal was to feel happy in life, you want to feel happy. So you're going to set a goal in love, in wealth, health, and self-expression. In love, when we look at that area, that's about self-love. It's about relationships, family, and outside of your family. It's about your relationship with yourself and your connection to yourself. So you should always have a goal somewhere there, because there's always something to be worked on in that area. In wealth, that's fairly obvious. That could be your business, that could be your job, that could be an idea that you have that's going to generate income for you. Same with health. So that could be your own health, what you want to do to feel better. Maybe it's just starting yoga. I don't know what you want to feel, but each of those areas covers an area in life. And the one that's omitted the most, and the one that's probably the most important, is self-expression, how we express ourselves. Now, I'm an artist. It's fairly obvious how I express myself, but I also express myself in writing, in good communication, in lots of other areas. So you start with looking at all of these areas in your life, and then you think, right, okay, what is it that I want to achieve in the next 6 months? And then you've got to make sure that the goals are really ecologically sound. I hope that's making sense to you. So I'm going to flip this over now, so bear with me while I flip. Right, I don't know whether you can see that really well. That way, Mandy, that way. So you'll have heard, some of you may or may not have heard of SMART goal setting before. I don't want to get bogged down in this and get bogged down in models. The perfect square, I am swearing. Okay, the perfect square is setting your goals in those four areas, but then your goal has to be really, really sound. It can be simple, yeah, but it needs to be sound. So what is your goal? So somebody give me a goal that they want to achieve. Very, very top line, strategic goal. It can be anything. If you feel like sharing, then go ahead. If not, I'll pick one for myself. So whatever your goal is, let's take health, okay? Let's set a goal in health, and say the goal in health, the one goal you want to achieve in that area is you want to lose some weight. Some of you might not. You might want to give up smoking, or you might want to drink less, or you might want to exercise more and get fitter. Okay, so the top goal, holiday, Ange. Right, so that's in, where would you fit that in the perfect square, Ange? You tell me. Is it love? Is it wealth? Is it self-expression? Yeah, or is it health? See if we have the same place. I'll wait for Ange to come back. Holiday. So you want a holiday, a family holiday, holiday of a lifetime, reduce hours of work, lose 2 stone. They're good goals, really good goals, Deborah, yeah. So a picked holiday, that could be lose weight. You can read my writing. Lose weight or holiday, we've got in there. Self-expression. Okay, Ange. Pay debts off. Good goal. We're getting some good goals coming out there. They're all really good. Now, what they are is real top line goals. So when you're setting goals, you've got to be really specific. Right? So if you're going on holiday, if that's your goal, your specific goal would be, I want to go on holiday to Florida for 2 weeks with my family. That's the very specific goal. Okay. Is it measurable? Okay, I've got to pay for it in a certain time scale, and it's measurable by, we're either going to be on the plane or we're not. We're going to make it or we're not. Is it achievable? Can we really afford it? That's where you crunch the numbers, if it's something like that. If it was losing weight, yeah, I'll go back to specific. How much weight and how you're going to measure it. Measure it by pound, by stone. Is it achievable? Yes, it's achievable. If you've done it before or you are working with someone that can help you do it, is it realistic? Is it realistic to go on holiday to Florida for 2 weeks? If it's measurable and if it's achievable and you can afford it, then it's realistic. And what's your time scale? How long are you going to pay it off over, or how long are you going to lose the weight over? So that's smart goal setting. It breaks the goal down into sensible steps. So you then need to transfer them to steps, because holiday, top line goal, is make it smart. And then that goal in itself is going to have a load of steps. But the first thing I want you to do with any goal that you have is imagine how you're going to feel. See this feel goal? How are you going to feel when you get it? That is almost more important than the goal. How will it feel? And for you to have achieved going on holiday to 2 weeks in Florida, having paid it off yourself over the time scale that you've set, yeah, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel elated, excited, all of those things. Do they lead back to happy? If they lead back to happy, yeah, and everybody else in the family is also happy, then you've ticked the box of that being a good sound goal. Now, if you've got that goal set from your perfect square, do you want another 3 goals in self-expression, or is 1 enough? That's quite a big goal. So it may be all you ever have is 4 goals on a rolling basis. This is where I want to bring it back to only planning for the next 6 months. You're going to feel fabulous. And then I want every single goal that you ever make for the rest of your life. I want you to think about this, guys. I've used the word ecology there. Feel goals and ecology are almost more important than everything else on there. And the ecology is the relationship between you and your environment. So if the goal that you set doesn't make you feel happy, you should not be doing it. End of story. If the goal that you set makes somebody else within your close circle of your family or friends unhappy or uncomfortable, then you have to question the goal and whether it's right for you in your ecological environment. So for instance, you want to move to Spain, but your spouse does not want to move to Spain. That's not an ecologically sound goal, because you're at odds with somebody that's close to you. So every single goal, one single goal that you set, you need to be looking at all of these steps. Otherwise, your goals will never stand up when you are planning. So I would never, ever on my planning tools or on my vision board or anywhere else have more than 4 goals. I will always have one in wealth, one in health, one in self-expression, and one in the area of love. And like I said, that can be self-love, how you care for yourself, what you do to look after yourself. And each goal I will have been through, and it might be a big, fat, juicy goal. But the bigger the goal, the more steps towards it. So imagine that you have set a goal to set up a new business like I'm doing now. That one goal, yeah, is huge. So I need to be specific. I'm not setting up a new business. I am going to be launching a website and a book, yeah, by a certain date. It will be measurable by the amount of people that join the membership and buy the book. So I've got very specific measures there. It's achievable because I know that I can do it. I have the capability and I have the skills. It's realistic because it's what I truly want to do and there is a need for it. And the time scale is end of October and I've got a countdown running on. But that goal is a huge goal, and that goal had to then, how am I going to feel when I get there? How am I going to feel when I launch that website? Who else does it affect? I did have to have a look at the ecology of that goal because it impacts on Gary, my husband, my kids, and everybody else in this household when I'm kicking them all out to do a live on a Tuesday night, and when I'm using the dining table to write on, and when I'm taking over the dining room to paint in. It affects everybody else. So I need the buy-in from everybody else around me in order to make that goal feasible. But there are a million steps that go with that goal. It wasn't just there's the goal and that's it. So first of all, write a book. Secondly, write the content for a website. These are big jobs that take quite a bit of time. So you've got to be able to attach all of these things to your goal. Now, can I then have another 3 really big meaty goals going on? Or will I feel overwhelmed? So it depends on what the big goal is, where it sits, and what are the goals that you want to have going on as well. I hope that makes some sense for you. But that's where I want to bring this back to only planning for 6 months. If you look at the next 6 months and what you can realistically achieve in the next 6 months, yeah, it's okay then to just review it every 3. So you get to month 3, you have a review of where you are, and you're not on track. That's fine. Extend your 6 months by another 3 months, and it's like a rolling 6 months. As long as you are taking the steps that you need to be taking to get you to the overall goal, you're keeping your feel goals right, and the review needs to be, how am I feeling? How am I feeling about this goal? Do I still feel like I can achieve it? Does it still feel realistic to me? Does it still feel like something that I'm going to meet the time scale of? So plan for 6 months, review it every 3 months. That's how I've approached my life since I was at my rock bottom 10 years ago, 6 months at a time. I've had some longer term goals, and we're going to talk about them at a later date. Just give me a thumbs up if you're still here, guys. I've had longer term and bigger goals, but I'm going to talk about them in week 11 when we talk about planning for the long game. So your ecology is you have your short-term goals, your 6 monthly goals that are attached to your feel goals. They're within your perfect square, but you are constantly planning for the long game within them. It is a very, very complex area of planning. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you're going to need some help to get there because it is not easy. I could talk to you about this for half an hour tonight. You can go away and you can draw your perfect square and you can write smart targets and your field goals and ecology, and you can sit and look blank at it because it is complex. And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But actually, you've got to start somewhere. And if you start with a post-it note that says, this is what I want to achieve, do you know something? You've started somewhere. And then if you put another 6 post-it notes underneath that say, these are the steps that I need to take to get to this. So if your goal is to lose 2 stone, yeah, your post-it note might say, I want to lose 2 stone and I want to lose it by January. And the steps I'm going to take to get there are, I'm going to join the gym, I'm going to go to Slimming World or Weight Watchers, I'm going to get a training partner or a training buddy, I'm going to do meal plans. So you can see there the goal starts to take on a bit more of substance. You've got a goal, you've made it very specific, you've made it measurable, because you're going to measure it by saying, you know, my target is 2 stone, so I can measure it along the way. Is it achievable? It's achievable because I'm going to pull in some help. I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to join Weight Watchers. Is it realistic? Of course it's realistic for me to lose 2 stone. And can I do it by the time scale that I've set? Yeah. How will I feel at the end of it? I'll feel a lot lighter and a lot better. And does it fit in with everybody else? So how is me eating different food going to fit in with the rest of my family? How am I going to make that happen? I'm going to use meal planning for that. So you've set your goal, you've got one post-it note with your goal, and you've got all your other steps underneath that. That's an ecologically sound goal that's going to work for you, because you've got your overall target and you've got your steps towards it. And I'm using that because it's a really easy thing to use to demonstrate how a goal works and how the steps towards it work. Now, the goal can be considerably bigger than that. Yeah, it can be huge. Pay off debts. I think Deborah said earlier, that can be a big goal, and that might take 10 years. It might take 5 years. It might be something that you need to get some advice on in order to do it even quicker than that. It depends on what you want to do. In the perfect square, and some of you have come on a bit later, so I'm going to bring the perfect square back. Sorry, you might just see my backside now. Back to the perfect square. Just because I've written happy in the middle of mine doesn't mean that you have to have happy. You might want to put joyful in there. You might want to put abundant in there. You might want to put fit and healthy in there as your central point. And what you do then is every goal you make leads into the center. So every goal, one goal in each area, each goal has a number of steps. Each goal needs to be smart. And they all lead you to the place that you want to be. And the place that you want to be, it'll take you 10 years. Do you know what? It took me 10 years to get back here, Debbie. Debbie or I don't know whether to call you Debbie or Deborah, but it's nice, whichever one it is. It took me 10 years to get here. From bankrupt to abundant, it took me 10 years. It hasn't been all bad along the way. It's been good for the last few years. And what I'm going to say to you is, when I'm talking about abundance, retired in the center, that's a good thing to have in the center. When I'm talking to you about abundance, abundance isn't just about money. It's about happiness. It's about love. It's about feeling like you're doing something that you've always wanted to do. So I've changed my life this last year. I am doing something that I have wanted to do since I left uni. I've discovered how to monetize it. I've got myself a coach, moving into my dream home. I've got a good level of income. I've got savings for my kids. My kids have pensions. Yeah, it's about abundance. Is about every area of that perfect square. It's about your happiness. It's about your love, your relationships, your self-love. It's about health and how you're feeling on a daily basis. It's about how you're expressing yourself. And wealth is about having enough. It's about having enough. And that is enough. I hope that this has been of benefit to you now, because honestly, please don't get overwhelmed with planning, and please don't get overwhelmed with goal setting. Bring it back every time. And this is how I coach this right throughout my new program. This is the model I use, and I get you to play about with it artistically, and it ends up being a really good meaty. At the end of the 12 months, it ends up being a huge success plan for life. You'll have created visions around it, done lots of different work, but this is the model that I will be working with throughout that 12-month program, the Glowing Aura Mindset Makeover, because this works. Everything needs to be brought back to what you want, what you ultimately want in the center of your perfect square. This is your perfect life, your perfect square. for your perfect life. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. And it really does. You do need some corkboards for the kitchen wall, Ange. That's great. It really does make a difference if you just take things, strip it back, keep it simple, strip it back to basics. Nothing has to be complicated. Your perfect life sits within a square. Sometimes the things we learn in life are that there are very simple solutions to whatever it is that we see as obstacles or problems. So thank you for joining me, those that you have joined me. And if you join me on replay, #replay, make some comments. I will reply to you all later. And obviously, I've shared a bit more tonight, given you some visuals. It's given you a snippet of what's coming up in my website and on my signature program, and also what you'll read in the book. Loads of stuff in that book that all connect to this, because that's where the learning started. Have a great evening. Those of you that watch Holby, enjoy it. I'll be watching it with you. And I'll see you next week. Bye for now.